Head coach Doug Bartows takes over the Atlanta Falcons. The former superstar quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers now finds a head coaching job down in Atlanta. Having no previous experience being a head coach for a good football team makes the fans question his ability and how the team is going to perform in the upcoming years. However, he does have an MVP under his belt at the NFL level, so we'll have to see what happens. The quarterback of this team is the veteran 38-year-old Isaiahh Miller. He's pretty accurate. He has one of the worst arms I've ever seen, and he's also an absolute statue in the pocket. It's actually very surprising that he even has a job. The running back is 32-year-old Lorenzo Remmers. There's not much to say about him, aside the fact that he's pretty all-around, just meh, and he's old. So we're going to look to replace him. The wide receiver one is Cyril Kiki. He can't really catch, he can't really run, and he's very fitting to be on this team, honestly, because we're horrible. It's worth noting that he is also 25 years old, which makes him the youngest current player on this roster. Moving over to our only defensive player to start this season is Jesse Molden, the D lineman. He is our only defensive player we have on the entire roster at this point. So that'll be exciting to see how many points gets put up against us. The kicker for this season is going to be Teron Kelly. He's got okay accuracy and absolutely no sort of leg power whatsoever. So we'll be going for 2 if we need to. The Atlanta Falcons did finish their previous season without Doug Bartows 2-15, but the first game Bartows ever coached, the team won 27-3. Very impressive, so things will be looking up. The fans are excited. The Tennessee Titans did win the Retro Bowl the year before, but now it's our time. A new season begins, and it's time for the Atlanta Falcons to go for this deep playoff run. Now it's time for the draft. We're going to need a lot of spaces to fill on this team, and it's good that we get 3 picks for each round. So hopefully we can get the future of this team and some superstars that we can look forward to progressing with. Not a lot here interested me. I was thinking to go for quarterback so I can get a new face of the offense and hopefully get some new culture going, but there was none available, none noteworthy, so I decided to go with the next best thing. If we weren't going to be able to pass the ball, we might as well be able to run it, so I took Bo Neal. In our second round, I was very excited to see that there was a quarterback available on the board, Weston Darius. However, I scouted him, and he just wasn't really what I was looking for in a quarterback. I personally wanted to build this team through the offense to start. However, this defensive lineman was way too good to pass up on, so I ended up taking Roquan Griffin with our second-round pick. Now it was time for our third-round selection, and there was quarterbacks available on the board, but they absolutely stunk worse than Isaiahh Miller. And then I remember seeing David Udoh, second-round board, and I saw that he fell to the third round, so I thought it was worth a shot. And this is what our starting lineup would be for the new season. With Bo Neal being our promising first-round pick, I offered Lorenzo Remmers to Carolina for a second-round pick, and it went through. So just like that, Bo Neal will be getting much more snaps. I also looked around to shop for Isaiahh Miller. They offered me a second-round pick, and I was going to buy it. However, the backup quarterback that we had at the time, much worse than Isaiahh Miller. And I thought, he stinks, but it's what we got, and we can't be, beggars can't be choosers. Also worth noting that Pittsburgh was the one offering us that deal, and we played them week 1, and I didn't really want to play my quarterback the very first week of the season. That just didn't seem realistic or right. Here I select David Udoh to be our kick returner for the season. He's pretty fast and he has some upside in the stamina category, compared to the rest of the people on our team. So I thought he'd fit the role pretty well. We'll see how it goes. Game 1 of the season starts off pretty hot with Bo Neal with a 13-yard run. Big play from the rookie. Bo Neal takes us down the field even more, and Isaiahh Miller finishes it off with a fade route to David Udoh. And the kick is up and good. Pittsburgh punts the ball away on the next possession, and we hand the ball up to Bo Neal, and he breaks away for a massive 31-yard gain, putting us in the red zone. He's playing amazing. Isaiahh Miller then launches the ball to the back of the end zone for David Udoh for a second touchdown of the game. Pittsburgh once again punts the ball away. We get backed up to 4th and inches, and then Isaiahh Miller makes this amazing throw to David Udoh down the sideline, and he gets a big gain. And because David Udoh has such amazing speed, he takes it for 6. Huge play, 54 yards. One of the lowlights I haven't really been showing is how weak Isaiahh Miller's arm really is. It is so bad, and they're dropping so much. That doesn't change much, though. This Pittsburgh defense cannot stop us, and Cyril Kiki goes for a very long touchdown off an in route, 37 yards, touchdown. Our defense forces them to punt once again, which leads to Isaiahh Miller hitting David Udoh again for his 3rd touchdown of the game now. He's going crazy. They punt again, and because I don't really want to score again and I don't see a point, in not running the clock out. David Udoh catches his ball off the bobble and then takes it down at the 10 and wastes clock. And I guess I'm a little hypocritical because Bo Neal takes this in for the touchdown, breaks a tackle, he can't be stopped. They punt us the ball once again, and we just run the clock out with Bo Neal. He goes down with 0 on the clock, and it's game over. Atlanta 42, Pittsburgh 0. We smacked them. The stats for this game is like nothing we're ever going to see in this franchise again. Isaiah Miller had 5 touchdowns, 4 of them going to David Udoh. Bo Neal had 133 yards and a touchdown on the ground. I mean, the team was going crazy. And now we're going to Carolina. After last game, I was playing on Dynamic, and I decided to bump it up to Extreme, so everyone on Carolina is going to be a 5-star for this game. This isn't what I stay with for the rest of the franchise. I do drop it down to hard just because this is freakishly unrealistic and very difficult. You'll see what happens this game. Here we have a 3rd and 3, and then one of the most glaring problems we're going to have to be facing this entire season is the fact that Isaiah Miller cannot throw the ball hard whatsoever, and he completely misses David Udoh. Not to worry, though, because Bo Neal, our first-round draft pick, breaks off a huge run against the 5-star Carolina defense, but he gets hawked down because, again, they are 5 stars, but he gets 40 yards out of it. Bo Neal can only do so much, though, because once again, the ball is put in Isaiah Miller's hands in a clutch spot, and he can't deliver because, again, he's got a noodle arm. But don't worry, though, because I missed the kick, and we get away with no points. Carolina is doing nothing but scoring on every possession, and once again, Isaiah Miller cannot throw the ball at all, and all he's doing is turning the ball over, so it's not a recipe for a good win. This play is a good example of how much of a disadvantage having his arm is. As you can see, it's like a very easy throw to make. You can just lob that ball up and give it to one of our better jump ball receivers, but he misses completely. It's not inaccurate, but my God, he just cannot get the ball to where it needs to be because he has so little arm strength. It's pathetic. I'm sorry for digging into Isaiah Miller so much because sometimes he does make good plays like this one right here where he misses this in route completely. And right here, Bo Neal shows why we took him in the first round as this ball bounces right off his helmet. Isaiah Miller continues his absolute tear he's going on with this play right here. Isaiah Miller shows what he's best at here, and he misses this receiver that burned his man completely because his arm strength is horrible, so he underthrows it and throws an interception. Keep in mind that as this travesty of an offense is trying to make their way downfield, Carolina has scored every possession they've had the ball. After about 1,000 more underthrown incompletions, Isaiah Miller decides to switch it up and finally complete one to the other team, which also goes back for 6. I didn't even know you could do this in Retro Bowl, but pick 6. I think it's finally time to show a highlight as David Udoh burns his man and then Zach Wilson throws the incompletion. After this throw, I think Isaiah Miller had me on the brink of suicide. Isaiah Miller sees that there's 0 seconds on the clock, so instead of throwing the Hail Mary, he just throws it deep into the middle of the field near nobody to end our misery, and the game is finally over. This reporter has the balls to ask me how I feel about Jesse Molden as if our quarterback didn't just play the worst game of his entire life. An accurate visualization of this reporter absolutely ignoring the elephant in the room in this situation. The final stats of the game are absolutely meaningless when you're talking about the eye test. I mean, Isaiah Miller made me want to kill myself. I don't care what his stats look like. I wanted to die the entire time. But David Udoh gets an upgrade. He gets speed, so that way Isaiah Miller can underthrow him some more. Week 3, we have Buffalo, and Cairo Doyle is a free agent linebacker that's about as useful to us as Isaiah Miller's left arm, so we completely ignore it. Buffalo stacks up with us pretty well as we're a 1.5-star offense and a 2-star defense, and they're 4.5 stars for both, so it'll be fun. We're actually able to drive downfield on them, and Isaiah Miller actually makes a decent throw, and I'm very proud of him. Followed by him making me want to put a bullet in my skull, but it's okay. And then they throw it in for 6. We're right back on this bullshit again where he completely misses David Udoh wide open. It's been kind of hard to show because Isaiah Miller isn't very good at playing quarterback, but David Udoh is such a bright spot on this team. This return was absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to see how he develops. Right here, we get desperate at the end of the quarter, and I take a field goal that's equivalent to about 70 yards in real life, and no surprise, we miss it. I'm just going to let this one play out. I have absolutely zero comment on this play. But he does bounce back here because David Udoh catches this very nicely thrown in route, and I'm actually very happy with Isaiah Miller. Right here, Isaiah Miller absolutely takes the top off the Buffalo defense as David Udoh burns completely and he misses him. But in all seriousness, Isaiah Miller throws a very nice fade right here to David Udoh, and it's a touchdown. And I missed the kick. They score another touchdown, so I run the clock out and then punt it away, and the game's pretty much over. Isaiah Miller had a touchdown and 1 interception, and David Udoh also had 163 yards and a touchdown, and that's pretty much everything notable from that game. Next week, we have Green Bay, and they start off with a quick touchdown, and in return, Isaiah Miller gets us down to the red zone and then throws a stupid interception. They score again, and we're now down 13, and at the end of the half, Isaiah Miller can't put this ball where it needs to be, and the half is over. We drive down the field, and Isaiah Miller throws this slant to David Udoh for a touchdown. Honestly, at this point, I don't even want to talk about it. After a few incomplete balls, Isaiah Miller finds Cyril Kiki right here down the sideline for this touchdown. This is a very big play, as you can tell, but we still lost. We go for 2 for the hell of it, and Bo Neal gets this reception, and 2-point conversion is complete. So 14-20 Packers. Stats for this game are pretty typical. Okay game from Isaiah Miller, okay game from Bo Neal, great game from David Udoh, as you'd expect. Now we're on to Minnesota. This corner, Kenny Garrier, is a free agent looking for a team. Although he's really bad on paper, I figure he's better than nothing, so we actually end up signing him to a very small deal, and I feel like he'll improve the defense some. Absolute statue in the pocket. After that run by Isaiah Miller, it's kind of just lobbed up into a field of defenders and intercepted. Minnesota then gets a touchdown, and then our offenses. They get a field goal, but then on the very next drive, we fire one into the back of the end zone to Cyril Kiki for a touchdown, and now it's only a 3-point game. Make that 4. They score again, and then we get this little garbage time touchdown that doesn't really matter to Cyril Kiki again. And I go for 2 because I'm a little bit of a scumbag, and we end up getting it. They recover the onside, and then they kneel it out. This puts us at 1-4 in the bottom of our division. Now we have Cincinnati this week, and we're in our color rushes hoping to break our 4-game losing streak. Isaiah Miller looks for the safety valve check down, but it gets lurked by this D lineman and intercepted. They scored their own touchdown, and then we respond with one of our own. And I didn't realize this when I was recording, but this is Bo Neal's first rushing touchdown of the season since Pittsburgh. Also, I think it's time for me to be checked for some sort of disease because I can't make a kick to save my life. Psych, ice in my fucking veins. Cincinnati scores again, and at this point, I think our defense is just letting them in. But then Cyril Kiki gets this massive gain, and this is a momentum changer. Bo Neal walks in easy. And he also gets the 2-point conversion. Cincinnati gets another touchdown. There's not much more we can do, but Isaiah Miller does throw this last touchdown to David Udoh right here. They rubbed it in some with the Hail Mary at the very end of the game, but that also ties us up with Carolina at 1-5 now. They did beat us earlier, so it is kind of rough, but, the standings are up for changing still. A really underrated part of the season is adding tight end Jimmy Gaulden halfway through to our offense. Even though he's got absolutely not a single stat to his name and he's retiring this season, I thought it would be more useful to have him than just the placement player that they give me. Right here we open up the game with a touchdown with Bo Neal on a wheel route, and it's a very good ball. We hold them to only 3 points, drive down, and then David Udoh catches this ball for a touchdown. And here Isaiah Miller gets one of the better throws of the season, one of the tighter fits to Jimmy Gaulden here for his first touchdown on the team. Their quarterback fires a deep shot, but it falls incomplete, and for the first time in 5 weeks, we won a game. We're playing Cleveland here in the rain. They score on their first drive, and this is how we turn the ball over on our drive. The rest of this game was very boring, aside from this one very good play by the defensive back to intercept the ball, and that pretty much sealed the game. They score again, and on this slant going for extra yards to David Udoh, he fumbles the ball, and we turn the ball over. They score again, and they win the game. We're playing the 1-7 Bears, who shockingly have a worse record than we do, so I decided to get a little crazy and go for this on 4th down, and it actually pays off to Cyril Kiki. Jimmy Gaulden runs a perfectly executed route right between the linebackers, and he scores a touchdown. We hand the ball off to Bo Neal here, and he shows that he's human by having his first fumble of the season. A super clutch drive from the boys and a super clutch connection here puts us up in Chicago, and we win. And then disaster strikes. Bo Neal's out. He injured his knee. It's no surprise that we lost by about 26 points because we couldn't run the ball. So, tough loss, but we'll move on from it because Bo Neal should be back. Our first drive of the game after they score, we just throw a couple incompletions and we have to punt the ball away. They score again on their next drive and we respond with this touchdown to Cyril Kiki right down the middle. We get the ball at the half and then we run the ball and we get a very big gain from Bo Neal, and he's at the 20, the 10, the 5, and he's in for the touchdown, a 34-yard run and the longest rushing touchdown of the franchise. We were only down 7 with the game in reach. However, on 4th down, I throw this incompletion, and all of a sudden, the game's not so in reach anymore. We're going to lose this one. Isaiah Miller also throws this garbage time interception. That pretty much ices the game if it wasn't already. And now it's time to get excited, because we got a snow game. It's in Baltimore. I'm fucking hype. Isaiah Miller ties the game at 7-7 with this touchdown right here to David Udoh. And what can only be described as a Christmas miracle, I actually make a kick. Holy shit. Unfortunately, on one of our clutch drives, this wheel route gets lurked by this linebacker. They went down and scored again, and after we ran the ball out for some, this interception kind of just means nothing. It ends the game, but it really meant nothing. This kind of stinks. Our tight end, Jimmy Gaulden, who we signed earlier in the season, is going to be out for 5 games, which is pretty much the end of the season. It won't affect us too much, but it does suck to have an extra target gone. I was regretting my decision to sign Kerry Carrier really bad because I feel like all he does is get burnt. So maybe it wouldn't be that big of an improvement just to have him instead of the default, so I ended up cutting him anyway. We start this home game against New Orleans with a quick touchdown to Cyril Kiki. They go down and get 7 on their own side, so we come back the only way Isaiah Miller knows how. And they score again, so we settle for this garbage time touchdown to David Udoh across the middle. We go for 2 and throw this fade route, but it gets intercepted. There's only 5 seconds left, and the time runs down on the return. They give us the 10th loss of the season. Quickly round up the end of the season, since we're pretty much already eliminated from any sort of playoff contention. We get beat really bad by Tampa Bay. Another tough loss away in New Orleans. Another loss handed to us again by Tampa Bay. And to cap the season off, we get our asses beat by Carolina. Buffalo Bills win the Retro Bowl. The fans vote on who their favorite player was of the season. Isaiah Miller finishes with 23 touchdowns, 21 picks. Bo Neal has 900 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 fumbles. Jimmy Gaulden has 2 touchdowns, 112 yards. David Udoh has 1,235 yards and 14 touchdowns. Cyril Kiki has 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns. And here's another stat sheet to look at. This will end the career of 36-year-old tight end Jimmy Gaulden, as well as one of our only players, lineman Jesse Molden.